Hey, welcome to the show where business gets to be easier. I'm your host, Haley Bree, an 8-figure founder turned human design strategist, here to prove to you that real business growth doesn't have to come with anxiety. Make sure to check out the show notes description for a link to a free app I created that is a community of deep thinking entrepreneurs. Would love for you to be a part of it. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to start off this show with vulnerable but intentional episode around how I had an 8-figure company, brought in all this money, but my nervous system collapsed from life. And I think that what sums it up is the real flex is not revenue, is regulation. And as I say that, it's not because business was stressful, and you will see this. I actually have milestones that I can go through with you on how I was able to grow the business and everything. But then what happened in my life, I was using business as a major band-aid to what my life looked like. And I did not choose regulation, which ended up taking away all my revenue. And I think that it's important. So let's just dive into it, okay? Let's go from the very beginning, shall we? Let's start when I was a poor, scrappy student. Keep in mind, I am from Arkansas. So if you don't know much about Arkansas, we don't make a bunch of money there, typically. And I did not grow up wealthy in any way, shape, or form. We didn't really go on vacation a lot. And I would say we were average for sure. But in my family, it was taught you have a lot of respect for money. Just because you have it does not mean you spend it. And I am so grateful for my roots in that way because it really helped me when I grew my business. And I saw all my friends become millionaires just like me. They had millions in the bank, but they ended up bankrupt. Some of them ended up bankrupt, and I didn't because I had my roots where I was very strategic and responsible with money and not in a scarcity way. I had so much abundance. But spending money doesn't mean you're abundant with money. Those two are very different things. You still have to respect the energetic frequency that's coming to you, right? So, and that doesn't mean obviously clinging on to it. This is not a money mindset episode, but going back to Arkansas, I am so grateful for that. And I did not have a lot of money at this time at all whatsoever, especially as a poor college student. I started a fashion blog back when I was in high school, really took off in college. I would go to Goodwill. And because I didn't have a lot of money, I would get clearance items off Goodwill. So I would find a shirt that was, let's say, from J. Crew, right? And I would take that shirt, put it on my fashion blog, and then put other shirts from J. Crew on my blog for affiliate income. And that is how I started making money in college. From this, I fell in love with coding. I started teaching myself HTML, CSS, PHP. If you were like back in the day, if you had a self-hosted WordPress blog, then you could teach yourself dynamic PHP code. And I did. It was so much fun. I loved it so much. Those were the glory days for sure. It was the best. Just drinking my favorite lemon water and being able to just code for hours in my dorm room. And from there, I changed my major to web design and interactive media in the college that I was in. And the professor would give out homework. He'd say, okay, Haley, I need you to create a website in HTML and CSS format. Go do this within the next week. Okay, took that assignment. I went to local businesses in the area and I said, hey, I will build you a website for around $2,000. And then I had a service. I had an agency. Oops, made an accidental agency. Didn't know I was doing business at the time, but I was. And then I started scaling that. Fashion bloggers at the time saw my fashion blog, wanted me to code their fashion blog. So here I am realizing, oh, wait, after I code your blog, you also need to look at all the stuff you're posting on social media. Let me do Instagram services for you. Let me do Pinterest services for you because I mastered that with my fashion blog. So then I started creating add-on services. And before you knew it, I was making multiple 5 figures as an agency owner, not even realizing that's what I was doing. But I got married at 20. And I grew up with a message that you get a job after college. That is what you do. That's the safe thing to do. And so I did. I didn't even question it. And I got a job at an agency, at a local agency in the college town that I was in. And my boss hated me, guys. He did not like me. And I get it. Literally no hard feelings as I say that. I just think it's funny now looking back because my ideas did not fit his business vision at all. I came in, just imagine, a young girl in her 20s coming in and having these business instincts of saying, wait, you're selling this custom website. service for X amount of money, right? Like, let's say it was $3,000 they were selling this for. Why don't you make semi custom websites for, let's say, 2,200, but you have three bases they can choose from? And then you're just changing their colors, their graphics. So it's just a more efficient way to complete a service because they don't care if it's super custom. They just care if the website converts. So just reposition the strategy. You can actually make more money for way less time spent on design. And I mean, I'm just thinking KPIs, right? That was not his vision at all. And so it was friction, and my ideas were not met with, any curiosity or acceptance. And again, that's fair. Not my business, it's his business. But it wasn't, it was like a lot of friction. So what I had a friend ask me one day, he said, Haley, how many people are you impacting at this job? I said, oh, yeah, I'm impacting, this person, this person, this person. He said, okay, but how many people are you not impacting because you're at this job? Literally walked into my boss's office the next day and quit. It's like, I'm done. And I, obviously in a very respectful way, but I was done. It's like, yeah, I want to impact people. I want to make a difference in people's lives. And I'm not doing that here. I'm not doing that here. So I quit, got to 500,000 in 6 months with the membership site, just blew up. And I am so grateful. I was able to experience the scaling of a business and actually identify as an entrepreneur at that point. Now, if we're going to bring human design into this, I am a 5-1 projector. So as a projector, I don't have consistent energy. I have to build things very, very smart that do not depend on me. So that's number one, right? And that's why membership was great for the recurring income. Number two, I have a 5 conscious line and a 1 unconscious line. That one on unconscious line, constantly scanning for safety. Okay. I am curious about certain topics, business, right? But I have to feel super safe in order to thrive in what I'm curious about. And so that is why that business model really worked for me at that time as a membership site, because I was able, when I saw the stacking recurring payments, I just blew up. I was able to turn my brain off. And I think that as entrepreneurs, if we can try to get to a point in business where our nervous systems feel super freaking cozy enough to where we can actually turn our brain off and let our instincts run the show, wow, it's a whole different ballgame. We feel creative again. We feel like it's a personal playground again. We feel the freedom again. And that was the life right there. It was so much fun. And then as a 5-1, with that line 5, I am solving a problem for the collective of entrepreneurs. And that was very satisfying and fulfilling to me. So moving on, I got to 500,000 and then my mind went berserk. It was speaking to me. It was saying, Haley, you are too dumb to get a business past $1 million. You need someone that knows what they're doing, because you don't know business. You don't know anything. You don't have a business degree. You don't have your business. Your family has never done anything business related. You didn't even know you were running a business when you were running a business. Like, I just felt so stupid. And I was not pumping myself up at all in this moment. And so I hired what we called it an integrator at the time. It's basically an operations officer, an OBM director. There's so many different COO, so many different labels to it, but an integrator. And at this point, I was at 70-80% profit margins, making around anywhere from 40 to 60K months. And she comes in within a few months, negative $17,000. So not only I had zero profit margin, I had negative profit margin. And it was a very expensive lesson for me to learn. But here's what I did learn. I can trust myself. I actually know what I'm doing. And I don't need a degree to prove that. I don't need a background to do that or history to do that. I can do that based on the results that I am making right now in this moment. And I am forever grateful for her for stepping in and giving me that lesson, because I really needed it. And I really took that and was able to grow my business even faster after that. So what was fun was that everyone at that point started asking me, Haley, how are you doing this? How are you scaling with an automated funnel to the multi-million standpoint so quick? Because at this point, I am getting a reputation online. I'm one of the fastest growing businesses in the industry at that time. I had a industry breaking webinar conversion rate. I had an over 50% live conversion rate with the software Kajabi. I was one of their first webinars that the software company ever did with people. and we had a record-breaking conversion rate. Actually was brought up on the Kajabi stage to talk about it a few years after the webinar went live and to go over the strategy with the audience. I was really making a name for myself. And from that name, people started asking questions like, how are you doing this? And I'm a very structured person. So I can take questions, data, experience, strategy, and then put it into a structure that is repeatable and that can be systemized, but dynamic as well. So dynamic as in there could be a decision tree format. It can be custom to people that go within the structure as well. I don't know why my brain works like that. It has always worked like that. I used to take super nerdy moment, guys. Okay. I used to take textbooks from when I was in high school or junior high and rewrite them as a more structured piece where people could understand it more. I don't know why I did that. I don't, okay, a tornado was coming at our house. And do you know what I brought in the closet with me? My history textbook. And I was writing notes on how and doing this exact thing when a tornado was coming to my house. I have been so committed to creating educational structures based off of the knowledge that I am just absorbing. I love it. I nerd out over it. So when all these questions were being asked of me is how are you scaling to multi-million with automated funnels? I took all of the system and then I created it as a structure that people could insert themselves into. And that was known as recurring profit, which I was known for in the industry for a really long time. When people heard my name, and at that time my name was Haley Burkhead, people would associate me with recurring profit immediately because we also ran millions of dollars of ads to that as well. So it just became a bigger name. And ended up scaling that business, that offer to over 6 million and created a team. We moved to Texas actually because I needed to have a better hiring pool. It was really tough to hire in a really tiny town. And I wanted an in-person team at that time because I just wanted a tight-knit team that I was actually seeing in person every day. And we were going over strategy in person. And it worked out really well because I got an office in downtown Fort Worth and Sundance Square. And I was actually back there the other day because I haven't obviously worked there in years and years and years. And I went back there the other day for a photo shoot and it was just down memory lane. And it's really fond memories of my team at the time and us all banding together and scaling together. And it was really great. But anyways, moving forward, it was so much fun to scale recurring profit. I had an amazing team and I made a lot of mistakes for sure during this time. I actually did income reports where I was super transparent about the revenue and profit that was happening and told a lot of people what my failures and mistakes were. And let me tell you, I have a lot of failures and I have made a lot of mistakes and I wear them as a badge of honor. I am proud of all of my failures because that's what makes me successful. You know, failures have truly been the stepping blocks to my success. But when I hit the 6 million point, I was told you need to have a 20% team margin. So when you look at your margin, so let's pretend I was making 100,000 a month. I was making more than that right at this point. I was making over 500,000, but just for easy math, 100,000 a month, 20% team margin of that, or sorry, 20% margin would be 20,000, right? So what they're saying is for every 100,000 I'm making in business, my team needs to cost at least $20,000 or I'm not going to be able to sustainably scale. That's what was being told to me. Now, obviously, this is so false, of course, because it depends on the KPIs you're measuring. So if you're measuring the KPIs of, well, what's my cost per acquisition with ads? What's my revenue per 100 leads in my funnel? Are my quality standards being met by the people that are buying from me? Those are the types of questions that I should have been told to be asking myself, especially a coach that I'm paying over $10,000, $20,000 for. It's ridiculous, the terrible advice that you can get sometimes from people. But anyways, I ended up hiring. So I hired so many people. And I think we had at least 13 to 15 new team members come in around a week. This is the week I had a miscarriage. So it was terrible timing, obviously. And then I had to fire, pretty much all of those same people because they weren't meant to be in the business. And I really messed up the team culture, the team dynamics, everything. I had to apologize to the team and just say, this is my fault. I should not have done this. This is a mistake. I apologized on the podcast. I told people don't do this. So anyways, I had to go away for the weekend and grieve the miscarriage and process what just happened. That was a lot that just happened. all at once. And when I came back, I ended up having to fire all of them anyways, because they weren't needed. They did terrible. It was a hot mess express, let me tell you. And then we got to a point where the business truly ran itself because my team, first of all, was so amazing. I had uh, so my operations, I don't know if you call it COO, integrator, whatever you want to call it. My ops director, let's just say that she was like a waitress, a dental assistant, all this stuff. She comes and works for me. And I see so much in this woman and I start training her. And within a few years, she is the ops director for a multi-million-dollar company and killed it. She made mistakes along the way, of course. We're all human. I'm sure making mistakes as a CEO. She's making mistakes as the ops director, but she was so in tune with the mission. She was so in tune with helping entrepreneurs. She loved those students deeply. And I will forever, forever be grateful to her for that. Forever be grateful for her to that because that was the core value at the end of the day. And I think it's easy to get distracted from that. But she ran the business. We had really solid systems in place. We had really the cells, the automations, all of the building blocks that I had been building, along with the training and the team, and everything was clicking. And then I got pregnant and I got HG. And let me tell you, before I got HG, I thought I was going to be a bionic pregnant woman. Like, yes, I visualized myself with the cape. I was like, I'm going to be so productive. We're going to get the business back up to 6 million again. Because right at that point, we were making over 3 million. We were kind of on our way to 4 million. And I really thought I was going to be so productive. It was going to be so great. No, could not stop throwing up. Literally debilitating sickness. And I was told at that time, this is not affecting your child, it's just affecting you. Okay, cool. I just have to live inside of a torture chamber where I feel like my organs are shutting down. And it is very scary. If you've never heard of HG, it's basically where you can't hold down food or basically any fluids. It's just really tough to get nutrition in because you're just constantly throwing up. For instance, like I had to sit on the couch and just watching TV, the motion of that, I would throw up. So to watch TV, I had to close my eyes and just listen to the sounds. And I would watch shows that I'd already watched. So I would just imagine the visuals in my head. That was how I watched TV for a good solid, at least a month. It was pretty sad. So it was a very dark time, especially when we went to the doctor and we were told that to prepare for a stillborn. I was around 4 months pregnant. And yeah, I remember when the doctor walked in and they said, this is definitely a possibility. We need to prepare for a stillborn. And I know they were trying to be helpful, but the look of fear on her face, whenever you look at the doctor as a little bit of like a steady pillar, and when they're not steady, you're like, crap, this is not good. This is not good. That was kind of that moment. And I not that I wasn't sure about wanting to be a mom, but it was never something that I had just been propelled forward to do. It's not something that I'd been dreaming about, in high school or anything. But that moment, something locked in place for me. I was like, it's you and me. It is you and me. This kid and I we are going to make it through this. He is going to survive. And this is my child. And my mama bear instincts kicked in and I just became ferocious about it. It was definitely emotional. It was a very hard season to think about being so sick and still ending up with a stillborn. But I am so grateful that I didn't. And obviously, birth was very scary, but being in the hospital basically an entire year, the business had to run without me. And I am so grateful that I was able to set up a business that did not need me to run. And so it did. It ran without me. And then I was able to be in the hospital and take care of what needed to be taken care of and focus on keeping my son alive. I was an emergency C-section and he was in the NICU for a while. During the surgery, they chopped a nerve, just completely chopped it. And it like around right here. So my upper right leg, it took 3 years to heal that nerve. But I remember a week after surgery, it felt like someone got a gun up to my leg and just was shooting it like crazy. I never screamed like that in my life. Thankfully, my parents were there and knew what to do. But after a year of not being able to really eat, walk, could drive, do normal human things. I was so excited to not be pregnant anymore and be able, because they said when you're not pregnant, your hormones will change and your body will stop reacting like this. And so I was pumped. But then here I am now with nerve pain, not able to get behind the wheel of a car, not able to walk to the bathroom by myself, not able to do normal everyday human things that I had been craving and desperately wanting. And my mental health just absolutely tanked. It was such a dark period of time. We got him back from the NICU and I was a shell of myself and I was just trying to survive. I was in straight survival mode. But again, I'm so grateful for my business. But at this point, life was just staring at me and it said, "Are you going to face your fears? Are you going to sit here and look at your life and be honest with yourself? You're miserable. You're miserable in literally every area of your life except business. Business lights you up. So I'm going to take your passion from business away from you until you figure and sort your stuff out." That's what I feel like life was asking of me. And that's what happened. I wasn't motivated. I was so drained. I was depressed. I was a shell of myself. It was hard to get out of bed. And I had to look in the mirror and face reality and realize, you know what? I am not in a healthy marriage at all. I have been avoiding that fact. I have been crossing my fingers and hoping that things would change for 10 years, and you can love someone so much, but need to love yourself more because you are becoming sick. And that is what was happening. And he's an amazing man. And I don't want to say anything negative about him at all whatsoever. I am so grateful that he is the father of my son. And we are great co parents. Again, so grateful. But in the marriage sense, what happened needed to happen. So I took my healing really seriously. I started studying ego, nervous system, happiness, joy, all of these different things that I did not have any of in my life. And I started realizing how desperate I needed a change. And so I did reset my life in a way where when I looked in the mirror and I just had to have a hard conversation with myself, like, you deserve love and you deserve to love yourself. And you're becoming sick. You're a shell of yourself. For what? For what? Because this isn't even what love is. And when I thought about what I wanted my life to be like, I wanted my life to be surrounded by love. And I'm talking genuine love with roots, with depth. And now I have that and I'm so grateful. But I had to face the darkness. I had to face all of my wounds. I had to kind of go through that process. And that's what I did during sabbatical. Now, this is where I'm thankful that during sabbatical I had a wealth team. Because when I was pregnant, I bought a commercial building. I started a small private equity firm. When I sold my business IP, I actually started also doing a collection of business deals and building a business ecosystem inside of the industry. One of my friends called me the Kris Jenner of the industry because I was coming in and doing these deals and bringing an ecosystem and basically creating business feeders. So let's say I had an agency, let's say I had a bookkeeping agency and a social media agency, and all the clients needed bookkeeping. I would send all the clients to the bookkeeper, right? So that is an example of just like a quick feeder situation. But I created a whole ecosystem of that. It was a lot of fun, and I'm so grateful for that. But at the same time, it was not something that I could be as active in because I was so depressed and I needed to face my healing. So it was a mix of, okay, I have these assets that I'm creating, but then I am going through this deep healing work. So then I decided last year, no, we're just going to focus on your sabbatical. That's what we're going to focus on. And I did. And it is the exact thing that I needed. And I did have a complete life reset. And now I've come back to say there is a way of business growth that involves a nervous system that's not fried and can actually give you life back. You know, business can be energizing. It doesn't have to be depleting. And I want to take all of the business knowledge that I have the past 10 years of growing businesses, of being inside, either 8-figure, 7-figure businesses, and then also the collection of business deals that I've had, all my hands in being on the board of directors of businesses. I want to take all of that knowledge, that experience, and pair it with human design. And that way you have a strategy for business that's actually based off of how you are specifically designed to operate and thrive in this space. And then also make sure that you genuinely wake up every day and are happy. I mean, I don't want you to be miserable. I don't want you to be in bed struggling to get out of bed. I want you to have a baseline of happiness because what I have learned is that happiness is not a mood, it can be a state of being that your baseline is at. So if you think of just like a linear line, right, of happiness, well, then something in life triggers you. And then you're obviously cortisol is going to spike up. You're going to come back down, but you're going to always come back to your baseline. And as entrepreneurs, when I've talked to a lot of you guys in the DMs, a lot of your baselines are anxiety and stress. And I think that's because we have been told to glorify the grind. We have been told to worship performance. We have been told that our achievements are what makes us worthy to look at. And I'm here to say, screw that. Why? It's left us exhausted. It's left us depleted. We don't even love the businesses that we've started. What's the whole point? Why can't business feel light? Why can't business feel like a personal playground to you? Why can't business feel creative and make the money you want and be super successful? We can have it all. We can. We genuinely can. It's just what are the strategies? What are the systems? What are we doing to actually make that possible for ourselves based off how we are designed, not based off of someone else's projection or what works for someone else? That's not the way. So, thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening to the show. And thank you for listening to a little bit of my story here. I hope it was helpful. I hope you got some insight out of it. That is my goal. And if you at any time are like, Haley, I really want you to cover this in an episode, or I really want you to be talking about this topic, or I have a question for you, anything, seriously, anything, let me know because that is what I'm here to do. This podcast is for you. So just send me a voice note on Instagram at by Haley Bri. So ByHaleyBri on Instagram. Send me a voice note, send me a message on Instagram. Let me know what you want to hear. That would absolutely make my day if you did that. Again, thanks for listening and thanks for showing up. I will talk to you on the next episode. Real quick, I'm bringing together a community of deep thinking entrepreneurs, and I would love for you to be a part of it inside of my free app called In Overflow. You can find it on the Apple Store, Google Play, or the show notes description of this episode. Here's the thing. I believe we have outgrown the grind. We have outgrown survival mode. And the next step of humanity is happiness. And I'm not talking about happiness as a luxury. I'm talking about happiness as the baseline that you as an entrepreneur are operating your life and your business from. So if you're like, yes, Haley, I want to be a part of the book club, the deep discussions in the community. I want to be on Zoom calls with you about creating this type of peace, fulfillment, and balanced nervous system. And I want to have higher capacity for joy. Amazing. That is what we are going over. We are bringing in neuroscience. We are bringing in quantum physics. We are bringing in human design, and we are bringing in modern and ancient wisdom to create the kinds of lives that we absolutely adore and love and wake up energized to. Again, it is absolutely free. Come be a part of this. Come join us. We cannot wait to welcome you into our group.